they were extracting water from a far, so it was really laborious.
Wow.
Water, trying to keep animals.
Long before Homestead Rescue ever brought his life to millions of viewers, Marty Raney was already living a world that few could even imagine. A world where floating logging camps bobbed on icy waters, where grizzly bears wandered freely, and where survival wasn't just a skill, it was a way of life. On screen, he is confident, resourceful, and unshakable, the ultimate Alaskan outdoorsman. But what viewers rarely see is the struggle, the danger, and the personal cost hidden behind that rugged exterior. In recent years, whispers of controversy, setbacks, and unexpected twists have left many wondering, what really happened to Marty Raney? How did a boy from the quiet outskirts of Washington end up mastering one of the harshest environments on the planet? This is not just the story of a man living off the grid. It's the story of resilience, obsession, family, and a relentless pursuit of freedom that has defined his life from the very beginning. What follows is a journey through decades of raw wilderness, relentless challenges, and the triumphs and trials that molded the man who would become Alaska's ultimate homestead hero. Marty Raney's story begins on July 28, 1956, in North Bend, Washington, a town nestled at the base of the Cascade Mountains. Even as a child, he was never drawn to the city life or the structured routines of suburban living. His family home sat at the very end of Mount Si Road, with the nearest neighbor more than a mile away. For young Marty, isolation wasn't loneliness, it was a playground. The mountains, forests, and streams surrounding his home became his first teachers. By the age of 12, he could navigate 35-mile hikes through the rugged Cascades with ease, exploring trails, scrambling over rocks, and testing his limits without any formal training. Curiosity and boundless energy fueled him, pushing him into situations that would have terrified most adults. Marty learned early that nature could be beautiful, brutal, and unforgiving, a lesson that would later define every decision he made. At 16, restless and seeking a life far beyond school walls, he left his formal education behind. He began working as a logger, immersing himself in a trade that demanded both strength and cunning. Logging wasn't just a job, it was a way of life, one that introduced Marty to the balance of patience and raw power. Yet even as he toiled in the forests of Washington, his gaze was fixed farther north, where Alaska's untamed wilderness promised a life of true freedom. By 18, that promise became irresistible. Marty made the leap that would define his existence. He headed for Alaska. The first glimpse of the state came from the cockpit of a 737, as a friend who worked for the airline pulled him forward for the view. Below him sprawled the vast, rugged landscape he would one day call home. Mountains, rivers, forests, and islands stretched endlessly, a kingdom unclaimed by time. In that moment, Marty didn't just see Alaska, he felt it. The land whispered to him, calling him toward a life of challenge, discovery, and self-reliance. Arriving in Alaska, Marty's first home was unlike anything he had known, a floating logging camp near Prince of Wales Island. Entire communities were built on massive wooden rafts, lashed together from 40-foot sections of trees. Homes, trailers, and workspaces sat precariously atop these moving platforms, drifting between isolated bays. Here, Marty's childhood lessons and logging experience merged. He learned not only to cut timber but to navigate life literally afloat, surrounded by unpredictable tides and weather that could turn calm waters into treacherous hazards in minutes. Life on these floating camps was as isolated as it was beautiful. Every day required endurance, quick thinking, and a deep respect for nature's power. The work was grueling, but for Marty, it was exhilarating. He thrived on the challenge, building confidence in his skills and cultivating a mental toughness that would carry him through decades of off-grid living. Marriage brought new dimensions to his Alaskan journey. After marrying Molly Roll, the couple was drawn even further from civilization. They sought solitude, self-sufficiency, and connection with the wild that surrounded them. Their first land-based homestead was near the shores of Chilkoot Lake, roughly 30 miles north of Haines. The site was breathtaking, but the choice was practical as well. Salmon streams ran through the area, providing a near-constant food supply. Yet these abundant waters also attracted massive brown bears, creating a landscape that was as dangerous as it was generous. Marty would later describe those first years as chaotic. Bears roamed freely, fishing alongside humans, and the Raney family had to learn quickly how to coexist with these formidable creatures. Every day was a lesson in observation, patience, and respect for the natural hierarchy of the land. For Marty and Molly, life here wasn't about comfort, it was about survival, endurance, and building a foundation for the family they hoped to grow. Raising a family deep in the Alaskan wilderness came with a price. Marty and Molly welcomed their first daughter, Melanie, into a world where simple necessities demanded extraordinary effort. Food wasn't always available, water wasn't running, and warmth had to be earned through relentless labor. Logging, fishing, and hunting consumed every waking hour, leaving Marty exhausted yet determined. A terrifying moment early in their marriage highlighted the dangers of life off-grid. Molly went into labor on the homestead, and complications forced an emergency flight to Whitehorse in the Yukon Territory, where Melanie was safely delivered. These experiences left an indelible mark on Marty, shaping his understanding of both vulnerability and perseverance. Every day brought its own trials. Hours of backbreaking work left him thin, hungry, and physically strained. Catching a single salmon could mean the difference between feeding his family or going to bed empty-handed. Yet he approached each challenge with a quiet determination. Even as exhaustion gnawed at him, the wild around him inspired a resilience that would define his life. By 1979, the family had grown, welcoming their third child, Misty, and the Raneys moved to the Wasilla area, closer to Denali National Park. Here, Marty's love for adventure took a new form. He began mountaineering, stepping into the dangerous yet exhilarating world of North America's highest peaks. His first ascent of Denali in 1986 became a defining moment. Standing just feet from the summit, with the cold biting and the wind unrelenting, tears froze on his face. In that instant, he felt both humbled and triumphant, small yet infinitely connected to the vast wilderness around him. By the late 1990s, Marty had established himself as a guide, leading expeditions into Alaska's most challenging terrain. His deep understanding of the land, combined with his musical talents and mechanical skills, made him a natural for documentary crews. In 1997, he helped film Alaska's Spirit of the Wild, and 2 years later, he contributed to Climb Against the Odds. These experiences marked his first real recognition beyond the isolated corners of the wilderness. Marty's true breakthrough came in 2013 with Ultimate Survival Alaska on the National Geographic Channel. The show dropped elite survivalists into the heart of Alaska's brutal landscape with nothing but their skills and wits. Marty stood out immediately. Unlike competitors relying on scripted stunts or dramatized antics, he moved through the wilderness as if it were his backyard. He hunted, fished, trapped, and built shelters with fluid precision. Audiences didn't just see a man surviving, they saw a man in complete harmony with the wild. His calm demeanor under pressure, quick problem-solving, and rugged expertise made him both a formidable competitor and a fan favorite. The show's raw depiction of the Alaskan wilderness, steep cliff climbs, treacherous river crossings, and blizzards capable of halting even the most experienced outdoorsmen, captured global attention. Marty's reputation grew not from trophies or prize money, but from authenticity. He became a symbol of true resilience, a man tested and proven by nature itself. Following the conclusion of Ultimate Survival Alaska in 2016, Marty transitioned into his most recognizable role, the heart of Homestead Rescue. Discovery Channel approached him with a concept centered on helping struggling homesteaders survive in some of the most remote and unforgiving environments. Marty was drawn not by fame, but by the mission. The show highlighted real families, real challenges, and practical solutions. There was no manufactured drama, no scripted fights or over-the-top stunts. Instead, it showcased determination, ingenuity, and the human will to survive. Marty's children, Misty and Matt, joined him, turning the series into a full family operation. Together, they rebuilt homes, repaired infrastructure, and mentored families learning to live off-grid. Marty's knowledge, honed over decades of logging, mountaineering, and homesteading, became central to the show's authenticity. Viewers watched him navigate treacherous terrain, improvise with limited resources, and solve problems with ingenuity and calm authority. The series cemented his reputation as a mentor, a survival expert, and a man whose life had been forged in the harshest conditions imaginable. Through Homestead Rescue, Marty demonstrated that survival wasn't just a skill, it was a mindset. His fame was not built on spectacle but on a lifetime of lessons learned the hard way, often in isolation, against nature, and in service of family. Despite his on-screen persona of unwavering confidence, life off-camera hasn't always been smooth. Over the years, Marty faced personal setbacks, health challenges, and moments of intense scrutiny. Living in remote areas meant that even minor issues could escalate quickly, and family responsibilities were relentless. Controversies occasionally emerged, disputes with locals, challenges in the logistics of filming, and the inherent dangers of working with untrained homesteaders in unforgiving environments. Through it all, Marty maintained his focus on his mission, survival, family, and mentorship. Yet these behind-the-scenes struggles reminded audiences that even the toughest outdoorsman is human. Balancing public attention with private life proved difficult. While viewers admired his skill and courage, few understood the daily sacrifices required to maintain a remote lifestyle. His family endured long periods of isolation, limited access to medical care, and constant labor just to survive. These realities added depth to his story, making his achievements even more remarkable. Today, Marty Raney continues to influence the world of homesteading and survival. His work on Homestead Rescue remains iconic, and his family is deeply involved in preserving the show's authentic approach. However, like any life lived on the edge, it has not been without challenges. Health concerns, aging, and the unpredictability of Alaskan winters have tested him. Yet Marty remains dedicated to the mission that has defined him for decades. He teaches, mentors, and continues to embrace the wilderness with the same reverence he felt as an 18-year-old stepping off a plane into the Alaskan frontier. The questions about what really happened are answered not in scandal or misfortune, but in the quiet continuation of a life lived deliberately, bravely, and uncompromisingly off-grid. Marty Raney's life is more than survival, it is a testament to resilience, courage, and the human spirit. From a lonely boy in Washington to the pinnacle of Alaskan adventure, he has faced the wild with honesty and grit. His legacy is not just in television fame, but in the countless families he's helped, the lessons he's shared, and the enduring proof that living authentically, even against nature's harshest trials, is possible. For Marty, the wilderness is home, and his story reminds us that the truest measure of a person lies in how they meet life's challenges, head-on and unflinching. Life on the homestead was far from easy, but for Marty and Molly Raney, it was a life they had chosen willingly, and one that shaped every aspect of their family. Raising 4 children in the isolated wilderness of Alaska demanded creativity, resilience, and a tireless work ethic. From sunrise to sunset, the homestead was a hub of activity. Fishing and hunting were not hobbies, they were survival skills passed down through daily routines. Children learned early how to carry logs, set traps, and navigate the icy terrain, skills that might seem extreme to most, but were second nature to a Raney. The family worked in rhythm with the land, understanding its patterns and respecting its dangers. Winter brought darkness, snow, and freezing temperatures that tested their endurance. Marty often recalled long nights spent breaking ice to access water, stoking stoves with logs, and ensuring every family member stayed warm and fed. Summers were equally demanding, with salmon runs, bear encounters, and endless maintenance to keep the homestead safe. Yet, amidst the hardships, the family found beauty. The children developed a profound connection to nature, learning lessons in patience, observation, and respect for the wild. Bears became part of the landscape, neither villains nor pets, but creatures to watch, avoid, and understand. Every challenge, whether a sudden storm or a salmon shortage, strengthened the family bond. Marty and Molly shared a partnership built on trust, endurance, and a shared love for the wilderness, teaching their children the values of responsibility, courage, and adaptability. These years of off-grid living were formative in more ways than one. Beyond survival, the Raney household became a microcosm of self-reliance. Each family member played a vital role, every decision carried weight, and the wilderness acted as both teacher and test. This life of extremes instilled in the children an unshakable confidence, a sense of independence, and a deep appreciation for the delicate balance between humanity and nature. Even as the homestead thrived, Marty's spirit of adventure was never satisfied by stationary life alone. Beyond Chilkoot Lake, beyond Denali's shadow, lay Alaska's untamed peaks, glaciers, and river valleys, landscapes that called to him with irresistible force. He sought challenges that tested not just strength, but endurance, skill, and mental fortitude. Marty embarked on numerous expeditions across the state. Each climb offered lessons in humility. Harsh weather, unstable terrain, and the constant threat of avalanches demanded complete focus. Yet each summit brought awe and clarity. The vastness of Alaska, its endless ridges, icy crevasses, and jagged cliffs, reminded him why he had chosen this life. These moments weren't about fame or recognition, they were about connection, reflection, and mastering oneself in the face of raw nature. During one expedition in the late 1980s, Marty faced a near-fatal situation when a sudden snowstorm trapped him and his small team high on a remote ridge. Supplies dwindled, temperatures plummeted, and the terrain offered no safe descent. It was a brutal test of survival skills, resourcefulness, and sheer willpower. By improvising shelter and rationing food, Marty not only survived but strengthened his knowledge for future expeditions. These adventures reinforced his philosophy: the wilderness is a mentor, demanding respect, vigilance, and humility. Each climb, each trek, each encounter with the unpredictable Alaskan elements sharpened his abilities as a survivalist, guide, and homesteader. By the end of this period, Marty wasn't just surviving, he was mastering the art of living in a world that most people would never dare to enter. Marty's decades of experience off the grid naturally translated into professional accomplishments. By the 1990s, he had founded Alaska Stone and Log, a company dedicated to constructing and restoring homesteads using only stone, timber, and raw craftsmanship. His knowledge of the land and practical building skills allowed him to create resilient homes capable of withstanding Alaska's extreme climate. Documentary filmmakers quickly recognized Marty's unique skill set. In 1997, he contributed to Alaska's Spirit of the Wild, guiding crews through treacherous terrain while balancing logistics and safety. 2 years later, he wore multiple hats: climber, cameraman, and musician, for Climb Against the Odds. His combination of rugged competence and charisma made him invaluable, a figure whose expertise enhanced every project he touched. The visibility from these projects laid the foundation for broader recognition. Marty wasn't chasing fame, he was becoming respected for one reason: authenticity. His ability to thrive in environments that would overwhelm most people set him apart. He became a mentor and role model, someone younger homesteaders and adventurers could look up to. With Ultimate Survival Alaska and later Homestead Rescue, Marty's professional journey reached its apex. Television gave him a platform to share his knowledge with the world, showcasing both the beauty and brutality of the Alaskan wilderness. Yet even as his reputation grew, Marty remained grounded in his original mission: helping people survive, thrive, and respect the wild landscapes around them. Recognition was a byproduct of living authentically, not the goal. Marty Raney's approach to life is rooted in resilience, observation, and humility. He views challenges not as obstacles but as opportunities to learn and adapt. "The land will teach you if you listen," he often says, a principle that guided every decision he made in logging, climbing, or homesteading. Risk, for Marty, is calculated. He understands danger intimately: bears, avalanches, storms, but never fears them unnecessarily. Survival, he believes, comes from preparation, respect, and patience. Fame, money, or recognition never drove him. Instead, the satisfaction lies in self-reliance and the ability to provide for family while maintaining harmony with nature. Even in the face of setbacks, personal, professional, or environmental, Marty's mindset remains steadfast. The wilderness is unforgiving, but it rewards discipline and attentiveness. This philosophy extends beyond survival skills. It informs his interactions with others, his mentorship style, and the values he instills in his children. To Marty, strength is measured not by confrontation, but by endurance, integrity, and adaptability. Decades of rugged living have taken a toll on Marty's body. Harsh climates, backbreaking labor, and extreme physical activity have left their marks. Yet even as age advances, his determination to remain active and engaged with homesteading and mentoring remains unwavering. Health routines are adapted to the environment, maintaining mobility, preserving energy, and balancing the demands of off-grid work with recovery. Alaska's winters, with their long nights and brutal cold, present unique challenges for aging homesteaders. Marty manages these conditions with experience and caution, relying on strategies honed over decades. The focus has shifted from solely survival to education. Marty dedicates more time to teaching younger generations, including his children, sharing knowledge and philosophies that ensure the legacy of authentic off-grid living